Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my breastfeeding experience. I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys my experience just because I think I definitely had a complicated one, and I wanted to go ahead and share what my experience was, so hopefully it'll help you guys. I also just want to say I'm not a lactation consultant or a doctor, so if you have questions, go ahead and ask one of those guys. So the very first day that Adeline was born, they put her on me just like everybody else, that first skin-to-skin contact, and you try breastfeeding, and it went wonderful. She latched on immediately and she did amazing. The lactation consultant that was in the room was like very good, like she latched right on, we had no problems. So the whole night I kept breastfeeding as well, and we had no problems at all. She was latching on correctly, she was feeding the way that she was supposed to, so everything was going like really good. They also give you this book. It's a daily breastfeeding log, and this was our lifesaver. I breastfed, did what I had to do, and Mike basically was in charge of this book because I was on drugs and I had no idea what was going on in the world. So the day that Adeline was born, she weighed 7 pounds 2 ounces. And I breastfed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that day. So everything was going really good that day. Like, she was latching on and everything was perfect. So the lactation consultant noticed the next day that she wasn't like latching on correctly, I would say. Like she wasn't like getting enough milk. Like she could tell she wasn't like swallowing it right. So she went ahead and she gave me the shields. I never knew what shields were before I started breastfeeding, and it was very different learning how to use these. So what these basically are is they go right over top of your boob and your nipple. So you wet the outer, I don't know if you guys can even see them. There you go. So you wet the outside of this, and it sticks to your skin around the nipple. And this basically forms a nipple-like shape so that the baby can suck. Just basically like a baby bottle, but it's on your nipple. So it helps the baby pull that milk out. So when she gave me these, I used them all that day and they worked great. Like everything was going good again. At least I thought it was. So the next day she came in, noticed that she still wasn't latching on correctly and that my nipple wasn't like over time your nipples are supposed to like form a shape apparently, but mine weren't doing that. So she went ahead and she gave me the shields. So these were like, I never seen these before in my life, along with the with these, but I feel like I was more blown away with this. So how these work is you put the dotted part in like up, and then this, it goes in your bra, and you wear this every day, all the time. You don't take it out. This is going to help form the shape of your nipple, and it honestly, it kind of like pulls at the nipple, so it hurts, and it makes your nipple extremely pointy, so that when you go ahead and you use this, the nipple's already pointy for you. So I went ahead and used these, and once again everything was going great. I didn't have flat nipples anymore, they were going pointy, everything was working the way it was supposed to. So we left the hospital, and before we left the hospital, the lactation nurse came in beforehand and recommended that we picked up a probiotic pill for me. She said that a lot of times breastfeeding mothers have an infection grow because in their like breasts, just because I guess the milk forms and things like that. So she said, go ahead and purchase that probiotic. So my mom went to Walmart for us that day and got us like everything that the doctors asked us to buy for me and Adeline, and we got it. I started taking it immediately that day, the day that we came home. So Adeline came home on a Wednesday, and her first doctor's appointment was on a Friday. So we went to the doctor's appointment on Friday, and Adeline was underweight. So the doctor had recommended increasing her milk supply, or my milk supply, and feeding her more, like feeding her more often. So we went home immediately, started breastfeeding her again, and I believe that was on, let's see. Yes, so that Friday, on this day right here, we went home and I started feeding her like nonstop. Like every chance that I got, I was trying to feed her to get her weight up. So we went back to the doctor's on that Monday, and she still was not gaining weight. So the doctor recommended, it's not giving up breastfeeding, but to go home and start pumping it into a bottle so I could see how many ounces that she was getting. In the meantime, while I was trying to build up my supply, give her a supplement formula. So I went to the store and I purchased the Similac supplement formula, started giving her that that day, and I also started pumping nonstop. So basically the way breastfeeding works is supply and demand. The more that I pumped, the more that my body was going to produce. So I was literally hooked up to a breast pump machine every 2 hours, like non-stop pumping. Every 2 hours, back on the pump. Every 2 hours, back on the pump. And every time that I was pumping, Mike was feeding it to her. So it was like very hard because she wasn't gaining weight and I was trying my best to give her milk, but it felt like as soon as I got milk, it was gone like that because she was drinking it. So it was like, oh my god, and my body was producing it enough. It's just that Adeline wanted more and more and more. So I had to train my body basically that Adeline was like, say like 3 months old instead of a newborn, so that I was giving her more, like my body was trying to produce more and more and more. Please follow along with me. I'm trying to like my best to remember things and trying to have this all make sense. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. I was pumping and we gave her the supplement formula that first day. So I would say she drank the supplement formula all day and was fine. Around midnight, she was so sick. She was screaming and crying and I had no idea what was wrong with her. Like, for the life of me, I could not figure it out. So I called my mom at midnight and I was like, Mom, this baby is screaming. What is going on? And she was like, she's probably gassy. And we gave her, Mike had to go to Walmart because we didn't have gas drops in the house. So please buy gas drops if you are having a baby because they will be a lifesaver. So Mike had to go to Walmart at like 12 o'clock in the morning and buy gas drops. We gave her the gas drops. She settled down a little bit, but she was like so miserable that night. Like, it was the worst night ever. And by that point I was exhausted and I was basically in tears myself. Mike let me go to bed that night and Mike was up with her all night long and he kept waking me up to feed her. But teamwork. So then the next day we stopped giving her the supplement formula and once again I was just power pumping left and right, and I said, alright, we need to do something instead of giving her this formula, because it scared me giving her even the formula because I wanted to breastfeed so bad. I finally gave her the formula and it made her so sick. I was like, I have to breastfeed. So the next day I woke up and I went and purchased the Milk Flow. Absolutely recommend this. And I purchased the mother's milk. You can buy these at Target. I got these from Target, but they do sell them at like Bye Bye Baby, Babies R Us, everywhere. Definitely highly recommend this. I recommend this too. I think it works, but this I feel like is what really worked. What I did is that I started taking it as soon as I got it. Like, I literally went in the car, filled a water bottle, and started taking it. I took it 3 times a day. Yeah, I took it breakfast, lunch, dinner. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then at night, I was taking this. I don't know if it was too much. Some people may watch this and go, oh my god, she was killing her boobs. But it worked for me. And it's what I was doing. I was doing anything at that point to make that little girl eat. Because there's no worse feeling in the world than listening to your baby scream and cry because of you. And like, it's a terrible feeling. So I started taking that immediately, and I feel like the next day everything was going smooth. Like, I was pumping more and more and more. She was eating more and more and more. Everything was going fabulous. So we took her back to the doctors and everything was fine. She gained weight back. He said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And it was so relieving to hear that because it was like, yes, I can keep breastfeeding. So I was super excited when I left the doctors. The next day, this is like all crazy. Like, I can't even believe that this all happened. So I finally got the breastfeeding under control. The next day, woke up, had terrible rash from here, on my face, on my ears, everywhere. I was severely allergic to something and we could not figure out what it was. So that day, for some reason, I stopped taking the probiotic. I like forgot to take it and the rash went away. So then I took it again the next day and we noticed the rash was back. So the probiotic was making me have an allergic reaction to something, and I was getting these hives. It was absolutely terrible. I had them everywhere. I looked like I was covered in all these little teeny tiny dots. It was like I was just peppered in them. So I took a Benadryl to get rid of the spots. I called the doctor, said, you know, I have all these things all over me, blah, 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 blah. She was like, oh, take a Benadryl. I guess it was the nurse that you call, like, on the phone. So I took the Benadryl. So that night, we went to my nanny and my pop-up's house for dinner. And I was trying to breastfeed Adeline, and I could not figure out why I wasn't, like, pumping milk. I was like, why am I not pumping milk? Like, I was like, I've been doing so good. I've been drinking my tea. I carried it around everywhere with me, and I was not getting any more milk. So at this point, like, I was going to pull my hair out, because it was like 1 minute you're getting milk, the next minute you're not. Like, oh my god, it was just driving me crazy. So my mom was like, well, what did you take today? Because we were all trying to figure out what the dots were from, and then we were trying to figure out why I wasn't pumping anymore, like producing any more milk. So my mom was like, what did you take today? And I said, I took Benadryl. She pulled out her phone, and it said on the internet, take Benadryl to dry your milk up. So I was drying my milk up taking Benadryl, and let me tell you, it works. For me, maybe because I didn't have that much milk, it worked immediately. So I literally had a meltdown. I just started crying, and it felt like the world was against me at that point. Like, no matter what I did, I was not, like, everything I did was not working. Like, 1 minute I was doing it, 1 minute I wasn't. She wasn't gaining weight, she was gaining weight. It was like all over the place. So don't take Benadryl if you're breastfeeding. I don't know if it's a myth. I don't know if it's true. We read it on the internet and it seemed like it worked. So do not take Benadryl. That's what I would recommend. So I immediately went out in the kitchen, heated up my tea, and started drinking it all over again. And like literally all night was drinking the tea to get more milk. Thank God I got the milk back in. It worked. So what happened to me was that my husband had to go back to work, and he was off for 3 weeks on he had off for 3 weeks. We're grateful enough that his job, you know, he had the opportunity to take off for 3 weeks. So when Mike went back to work, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be breastfeeding without him, because like I said, I was pumping and feeding and Mike was feeding, and the day that Mike went back to work, I was like by myself. I had nobody, and it was like I was trying to pump. I had this bra on me with 2 pumps sticking out. I looked ridiculous, and I was trying to feed her, and it was just like, it was a disaster. And I was trying to do it. I did it for like another week, and she was gaining weight like she was supposed to be, so it was working. It was just challenging. So then for some reason my breast milk wasn't coming in again. Like it was just off and on. It was off and on, off and on, off and on. And one night Adeline was just screaming because she was so hungry, and I was pumping not quick enough for her, and I couldn't get all the milk that she wanted. I think I was pumping like 3 ounces and the baby wanted 4. Who knows? But she was starving, and I just said, that's it. I can't listen to my baby scream anymore. And I went downstairs. I had Similac samples, and my cousin gave me a whole bunch of formula too. And I opened up the Similac sample and I gave it to her, and she took it like a pro. She was fine. She didn't get gassy, and right from that moment I knew that I was done breastfeeding, because just listening to her scream and cry because of how hungry she was, it was terrible, because I couldn't give her that, and I felt terrible. I felt like I was the worst mom in the whole entire world because I couldn't breastfeed my baby. And for, I would say, a good month after, I beat myself up over it for a long time. Like, I was really upset that I couldn't do this, because I was so proud of myself in the beginning, because of how good I was doing, and then all of a sudden I just had to stop. But then I keep like telling myself that Adeline was hungry, and I did what was best for her, not what was best for me. I felt like giving her that formula was what was best for her. And you know, we went back to the doctor, like I think it was like a month later, And the doctor said, wow, what are you doing different? She gained so much weight. She's doing wonderful. And I said I stopped breastfeeding and gave her formula. And the doctor, and you know, at first I was like afraid of what my doctor was going to say to me, because doctors usually are like for breastfeeding and, you know, they want you to breastfeed. And he looked at me and went, that's fine. He said that's what formula's made for. And it was so relieving to hear my doctor say that, because I didn't want to be judged by other moms, and I didn't want to be judged by my doctor. And it was hard, because I had to understand that I didn't stop breastfeeding for me. I stopped breastfeeding for Adeline. And that's all that mattered at the end of the day, is that Adeline needed food, and that's what I gave her. I gave her food. At the hospital as well, just another tip, they're going to give you, well, at least my hospital did, they gave me a bunch of these samples of the nipple cream. I have tons of them now, and let me just tell you, they make the best chapstick. I carry this everywhere with me now. I love this chapstick. So if you have extra nipple cream, use it on your lips. I almost said on your nips. Use it on your lips. I think that's it for my breastfeeding experience. It was very emotional, because I felt like I didn't do what I was supposed to do, but I did at the same time. And if you do breastfeed, I give you every credit in the world, because it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But, you know, try it. I think everybody should at least try it. And if you don't want to try it, it's up to you. But, you know, try it. See how it goes. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I just had to make myself believe that it was okay. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry if it was a little rambly and like all over the place. It's kind of hard to remember because it was almost 4 months ago now. But yeah. If you guys have any questions, please ask me. I might not be the best person to give advice on this topic, but I might be able to help. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!